Over the past 10 plus years, and I would have to say about 10 to 15 years, there has been company after company, brand after brand deciding to update, streamline, simplify, modernize their logos, and well, I can't really think of one that has actually improved. The one that it just sticks out in my mind that is just a strict downgrade. It's like the Kia Motors logo. Now, that's going to seem like a strange pull unless you know, but they went from having, like the red oval with the Kia letters that are right there, moving to what looks like kind of an electrocardiogram of somebody going through cardiac arrest, like the what is even going on there. But every one of these redesigns outside of... Actually, you know what? I do have one example. One that I do like, and this might be a little bit controversial, but WWE, the Fed, when they went from the Scratch logo, what they started with back in the Attitude Era. Yeah, the Attitude Era, sorry, my mistake. Like, it looked good when it had the F there, but, back in the early 2000s when they got the F out, they really should have streamlined around the logo that they have right now. It looks a little bit better, and at this point in time, can't really simplify it any more than that. But yeah, all of these other redesigns, they went from having, an iconic design, some real character to their logos, to just a simplified text, and you might get a colored background. All of them are soulless corporate garbage, and another example of something that I say all the time: the industrialization of art and creativity has been its downfall. All of these people with superfluous degrees thinking that, oh, just because I went to school, I got a bachelor's degree in art, means that I know how to run a business, means that I know how to run marketing. I did a couple of art classes and supplemented that with a whole host of gender studies courses. Therefore, I'm entitled to tell you what aesthetics look better. And it's so funny, right? Because I seen this on Thursday, right? Like, this story popped up and it's like, oh yeah, Cracker Barrel went through a redesign. It's like, wow, that new logo sucks. But then as the day went on, and the more that I dug deeper on this, the more I realized that, wow, this kind of has a tie-in with something from a couple of years ago, mostly because there was another story that I remembered about Cracker Barrel, meaning that this isn't the first time that they really pissed off their audience. This one just happens to be the worst, and it was so easy to avoid because somewhat recently, like every once in a while, in my YouTube feed, a video, one of those channels that, like goes through abandoned malls, catalogs the downfall of a brand or a store or something like that. Like, I forget who it is, but the one guy who goes through, all of those abandoned malls, I think that those are really cool. He catalogs the stuff when it was at its height, the moment that it started to go on its decline, and now what it looks like right now, if he has the opportunity to go through it, and he takes his camera crew, and it's very interesting stuff. I think that it's quite great. And then also, I've referenced this before, but just whoever did the documentary on the downfall of Target Canada, I loved that story. I did love me some Target because it was reasonably close to where I was at. But yeah, just how mismanaged that entire thing was, how it basically came down to the wrong inventory software. Like, that was just so fascinating. But one that I watched recently was the downfall of Longhorn Steakhouses. Now, that's going to sound wild, but follow me on this one because, yeah, they started, they got their foothold because, okay, cool, they were bringing, the down-home Texas feel of a good old, West Texas steakhouse, and then they franchised that out across the country. And it's like, yeah, cool. There was an aesthetic to that, and it looked like a barn. You had the peanuts. You could just throw the shells on the floor. They clean it up afterwards. It was definitely what the kids say, a vibe. But then after a while, things were going fine and they were getting, right in like the 80s or 90s. I forget specifically what it was, but yeah, they got right there up at the top, and then they ended up hitting peak. And then they started to make some incremental changes that ostensibly took away from what it was to be Longhorn Steakhouse, and now I think the entire chain has closed up. They went from being to the absolute height of franchise restaurants to being out of the business and being out of the country in less than 10 years. You can see this with Cracker Barrel because, yeah, there's not just a logo redesign, but recently, yeah, you can see it's like, okay, cool, yeah, Cracker Barrel, it definitely has the aesthetic, the different little tchotchkes on the walls. It's very much an Americana spot, and I've known this. I've never been to a Cracker Barrel in my life, but I knew what they had going on there. And then you take a look at what they're doing with the new ones, and it's like, that just kind of looks like any other generic slop restaurant that's out there. And you can thank the CEO, the new CEO as of the end of 2023. Keep that in mind for a second. Julie Masino. Well, Julie Felss Masino. has faced multiple controversies since she took the reins of the once beloved restaurant chain. Well, I would have to say this one is quite possibly the worst because it is having immediate repercussions. New logo received fierce backlash on social media as users trashed now the rebrand as generic and likened it to brand self-deletion. Yeah, because, well, okay, just for posterity's sake, Cracker Barrel's original 1969 nice logo featured only text. The now familiar imagery, yes, with the old homie sitting on the side. It's iconic. It's iconic for a reason. And that started, 8 years later, 1977, and it's hung on and been well regarded since then. Yeah, the old timer, sorry. Yeah, Uncle Herschel, the old timer, Cracker Barrel's website, under the Get to Know Us page, they had a description of its old logo. The old logo tells a story with every detail. It features a pinto bean shape behind the Cracker Barrel name, a nod to one of the original sides we offered when we first opened in 1969. See, that's cool. There's personality in a logo. There's a story you can tell without having to be explicit about it. It's better storytelling than what you're seeing out of Hollywood in the past decade. The K in Cracker has a charming flourish that flows into the pinto bean shape, tying it all together. This time around, looks good on letterhead, because that's what I've also heard when it comes to all of these, sleek, quote-unquote, sleek redesigns. They look good in black and white. They look good on letterhead. I couldn't think of anything more perfect to describe the point in time we find ourselves in, and not just entertainment, but in all of media. We need to kill creativity for the means of pushing paper. It's a perfect encapsulation of the times. Felss Masino, who became CEO on November 1st of 2023, maintains the response to the recent changes have been overwhelmingly positive. Wow, where have we heard this before? People like what we're doing. Cracker Barrel needs to feel like the Cracker Barrel for today and tomorrow, a Cracker Barrel for modern audiences. The things that you love are still there. We need people to choose us, and we want people to choose us. Felss Masino told Good Morning America on Tuesday. Previously served as president of Taco Bell and Mattel before being tapped to head Cracker Barrel. Wow, she at least has a comparable resume as opposed to other, CEOs. I think probably the most egregious example is in gaming, how they would come over from, the one that worked out is the one that sticks out in my mind, but Reggie Fils-Aimé, the former head of Nintendo of America, right? He came over from Pizza Hut. Yeah, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but it ended up working out extremely well because he took the gaming side of things very seriously. He wasn't just a bean counter, he was very involved in the process. Meanwhile, I'm sure Felss Masino probably also presided over some of the changes with Taco Bell, and she worked in toys. It makes a lot of sense. In addition, she held senior roles with Sprinkles Cupcakes and Starbucks. Oh, that makes a lot of sense why you just go with generic bitch shit in your fucking store now. It makes a lot of sense, but how does that work out? Cracker Barrel employed 3 firms to redesign their logo and new restaurant look. Look, the logo alone is likely to have cost them millions. The cost is not just a design, but also reprinting all the materials, handbooks, and marketing. This does not include the remodeling costs of the restaurant. Yeah, and exactly. Stock is down 11% today. And it would actually get lower than that because Cracker Barrel stock nosedives over 14% after they unveiled their new bland logo. Company decided to ditch its iconic logo as part of its new rebrand, prompting harsh backlash. I could just let you play the clip of the people that are, really enjoying their time at the new Cracker Barrel, and it just looks so great. And you can just see all of the booths and tables are just, filled. It's standing room only, right? No, it's fantastic. But yes, the company decided to ditch its iconic logo as part of a new rebrand, prompting harsh backlash. But CEO Julie Felss Masino is convinced people love the changes. As you can see, they love it. Absolutely love it. And the company is also remodeling its restaurants and ditching, but somebody's getting dicked in this one, its iconic interior for country-themed trinkets and dark woods. Yeah, exactly. It looks like every other fucking, side-of-the-road tchotchke restaurant that I could possibly think of. It's like Cracker Barrel does have that, greasy spoon aesthetic where if you stopped at the side of the road and, just middle America somewhere, this would be something that you would tend to see. Maybe a little bit overblown, a little bit over the top, but this right here, it's got that kind of cheap Bed Bath & Beyond kind of knockoff. It's like, oh yeah, we're homely, but there's kind of a Stepford Wives aesthetic over the top of this faux Americana And plus this whole, going from, because there was a point in time, right, where it was just all beige everything, and now it's just this stark white and high contrast darks as well. It's like, the fuck, it's just, if that's what you wanted to do, you should have made your own restaurant, okay? Because that's the thing. It's not working out well. But like I said before, this isn't like the first time that we have seen massive public backlash, because if you go back just a couple of months before Felss Masino took the CEO role, I mean, like, I remember this. This is one that, as I was thinking throughout the rest of the day, it's like, didn't Cracker Barrel do something else stupid? Oh, right. Yeah. Back in the summer of Bud Light 2023, Cracker Barrel slammed for woke rainbow rocking chair honoring Pride Month. So yeah, they have been, they've been poking the bear. They've been prodding their customer base for a while, because does anybody want to go down to Cracker Barrel and sit in the big gay chair? Yeah, I don't really think so, man. This is really fucking dumb. But they thought that, hey guys, we know what the modern audience wants. We know what our today's customers really want. It's rainbow chairs and sanitized Americana. That's really what we're all about now. And honestly, yeah, the stock, I mean, like, you don't see drops like that. Okay, normally whenever a company, like, I just think, and like immediately with Disney, okay, whenever they have like an investors call and you get the bad word, well, now they won't be getting that, but whenever they say that, yeah, profits are down and we're just hemorrhaging subscribers on D+, you might see a little bit of a drop in the stock. Okay, you might see the mid to high single digits if things are exceptionally bad, but 14% on the day. Oh boy, this right here, it's at the precipice of going full Bud Light, because here's the thing, right? If Cracker Barrel was all well and good, if things were fine and dandy to begin with, they wouldn't be bringing anybody on to do a redesign, because here's the thing with all of these penny pinchers now that are in charge of this type of stuff. They want to follow the money more than anything. So if it was working, they would just keep it the way that it is. But as you can see, even the prior regime, prior to Ms. Julie taking over, they were already doing stupid shit. So this right here, this just ends up being the night of the heist after years of recon work to figure out exactly when we can come in and run the job. We'll have to see in the coming days how detrimental this change is ultimately going to be, and if we don't have another Bud Light situation on our hands. But there is, of course, a silver bullet that's out there. There is something that, if Cracker Barrel, if they're doing this brand new redesign, if they're doing this brand new, logo campaign, if they need somebody to really get the message out there, I think that there's probably one person that they can use to get people back on side. I'm just throwing it out there, because apparently, Bud Light is even learning about this, because Sydney Sweeney and Bud Light speculation swirls about the benefits of a potential partnership. Yeah, you want to get people back on side? I mean, it's worked for just about every other brand she's pushed. If she can bring back Bud Light, couple that with a number of stupid leftists that she's upset, and she can throw a better first pitch than several former sitting presidents. I mean, to me, that would look like 3 miracles that she performed. So instead of Sydney Sweeney coming in and being a brand savior, you could be looking at Saint Sweeney here in the near future. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.